So just a little follow-up video, on these canned fuels and the steel ultra oil and whatnot. First of all, let me just say that there is no one size that fits all. Okay? It's not feasible. There's different operating characteristics, or people run stuff. They're doing production logging, or they're doing firewood, or whatever. So there isn't anything that applies all the way. All I can do is share my experience with what I've had and what I've tried to use, and show what I've used, and hopefully someone else in the same situation and does the same work like I do might be able to benefit from it. Okay. So, there's a lot of talk about this oil. Oh, this is no good. It causes carbon, blah, blah, blah. Look at, again, go do your research. The oil is not necessarily the major contributor to carbon. Fuel causes carbon. You look at a 4-cycle motor in a car, it creates carbon, and there's no 2-stroke oil mixed in. So that just shows you right there that these people they don't have their thinking caps on. They're not using their heads. Are there better oils than this? Well, better as far as what? I mean, if this is acceptable, and this gives you long, and you're up here with an oil, if that's what you want to run, or if you're a little above it and you want to pay a little bit more for a dirt bike oil, or you want to run whatever, that's fine. But to me, I think you're just throwing your money away, from my perspective. So, why did these companies like Steel, and this is the official Steel Timber Sports fuel, why did they come up with these fuels? Is it some conspiracy to separate you from your dollar? Some people believe that's to be the case. I don't. Now, this saw here, this is that little 241 I have. This saw is 7 years old. And on a previous video, I pulled the muffler off, and we've looked inside the exhaust port, and we can plainly see that there's no carbon. The compression on it is beautiful. As you can see, I take care of the saw. I clean it. I also devised this air filter system, because you get dirt and garbage in there, it's gonna cook the motor. You're gonna sandblast the intake, and you're gonna get dirt and screw up the bearings or whatever. Oh, whatever. 7 years on this thing. So let's say, just for sake of argument, I've got 250 hours on this saw. Okay? If I'm making $30 an hour, this saw has produced $7,500 in my pocket. So the cost of this and the cost of the bar oil, you're chasing pennies when I'm making dollars. Why did they come out with these fuels? Let's get back to that, though. I kind of segued off. The manufacturers are very well aware of the fact that the fuel quality is all over the place. When they sell these saws, they're not just selling them down in Crossville, Tennessee. They're selling them all around the world. They've got to run in, minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. They've got to run in low elevation from, say, over here where I'm at, which is about 800 feet above sea level, up to 10,000. Okay? And the quality of the fuel is such that there may be issues. That's why they came out with this fuel. And matter of fact, there's some places over in Europe where you have to use an alkylate fuel. Now, you don't necessarily have to use this. There are places now that you can buy, they call it Aspen, A-S-P-E-N. And you can get a jug of it. It's not mixed with any oil. And you can mix whatever brand of two-stroke oil you want. So, you know, if you're, and I don't know why, but if you're concerned about the price of it, you could save some money that way and still get the benefits of the fuel. All I can say is I've got some saws with hundreds of hours on them that are like this one here, 2017. It's 7 years that they're clean. The compression is good. The motor's good. No problem with the carburetor. You have to understand your pump fuel, it varies. Now, you're going to get a guy that says, but Fabes, I've been running this for 30 years. And that's fine. Maybe where you live in your geographic location, your fuel quality is better than what I get up here in New York or what this guy gets down in Pennsylvania or what. It's just, it is what it is. But to eliminate all that from the equation, I run this. Now, if I take this saw here, okay, I'll just give you a quick example. This is the 562, okay? This saw, the way it's set up, I've cut over 12 face cords on 1 gallon of this. 12 face cords of wood on 1 gallon. The way I have it set up, the way I have it tuned, 60cc saw, very efficient on fuel. You know, I didn't go crazy with this and that and the other thing. I just flow ported everything. And it runs. And it cuts pretty quick. And, you know, wood up to, let's say, 18 inches. And it's very fuel efficient. I can get a lot of work done. Up here in New York, your face cords are $100. So, I mean, if this cuts me 10 or 12 or 15 face cords, let's just say 12, you know, 12 face cords times $100, that's $1,200. The fuel cost and bar oil cost, while it is a cost of production, it's very minimal. And the same thing is if you're doing like a residential tree job where you, let's say like I do, in my area, you have this emerald ash borer where there's a lot of dead ash. Okay, these things, what happens is this borer gets in there, it stifles the tree, the cambium layer, it can't feed and it dies. And it becomes a hazard because these things, a lot of times they rot at the bottom and, you know, the wind can hit them. You can get this wind off of Lake Erie and it'll knock them right over. It'll snap them. You know, it'll blow down a live tree. But if they're dead and so I've got a little niche going here where, you know, people will call me and we'll take them down. We'll cut them up. And if it's a little, just a small quantity of wood, we'll split them by hand with the axes and mauls. If not, I have a kinetic splitter we can drag out there because sometimes you get a large ash tree that maybe has, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 face cords in it. To try and do that by hand is a little much. You know, 1.25 cord, 2 face cords, 2.5. To do it by hand, it's bearable. I mean, you're going to be tired after it doing the job, but anyways, like I'm saying, the cost of the job versus how much fuel I'm using is it's nothing. It's pennies versus dollars. So say, for example, a guy calls me and he's got an ash tree that has maybe 2.5 face cords in it. And he wants it out of there. It's dead. It's leaning over his neighbor's fence, or it can fall into his garage or whatever. He wants it out of there, which I don't blame the guy, you know, because these things can kill you. The wind comes and, your kids are out there playing or anything, or a branch can snap off. But anyways, the job, let's say, is $500. Okay. I bring this saw out there and a smaller saw, a little 241 like I showed you previously, and we can, let's say, drop the tree and cut it all up on a half a gallon of fuel. It's like I said, and you get these people, well, I'm doing production logging and this and that, and I can't afford to do it. Well, hey, then you need to find the best fuel you can get and the best mix oil and have at it. I'm just saying, for me, it's much easier for me to run this, fill up the tank, run it, okay, finish the job, bring the saw home, clean it off, check everything, make sure everything's good, sharpen the chain, and then I put it on the shelf. And then next time I want to use the saw, I pull it off and fill it up with the mix here, and off I go. No carburetor problems, no breathing the fumes, no long-term storage issues. I can just pull the cord and go. And for me, from my perspective, that's worth it. Again, one size does not fit all. So, now, let me give you another example. So, well, what happens if you're into these big saws here, Fabes? Let me go grab this here. Now, this is one of my Husqvarna 2100 series. Now, with this, I don't really use this that frequently, as opposed to the smaller saws. Because you got to understand, again, one size doesn't fit all. Most of the firewood logs that I'm processing are probably between, 12 to 18 inches. Yes, you get bigger ones. And yes, you occasionally get a larger tree. But most of the ash trees are smaller. 14, 16, 18 inches, okay? So the majority, the bulk of my work is like 70 cc's and under. But for split work, you get some of these big rounds, okay? I'm not going to sit there with them all and beat up on bananas. I'll take this bad boy with a 25-inch bar with a sharp chain, and I'll just cut it right down the center, whack it with the maul, and then bust it into quarters so I can pick it up and put it on my kinetic splitter, or I'll cut it. So in this instance, with something like this, almost 100 cc's, that really drinks the fuel. I mean, this thing, she'll drink the fuel. Yes. I'll go to the gas station and I will buy non-ethanol fuel, okay, 2 gallons, because this makes 1 gallon, but you can buy them with that where you can make 2 gallons out of them. And I'll buy 2 gallons of fuel, put the oil in there, and I'll run the shit out of it. But when I'm done, I dump this out, and I put some of this in there and fire it up, put it on the shelf, and it's ready to run. Again, there is no one size fits all. I'm not trying to say my way is the only way or the best way. I'm just trying to say what works for me. I'm not going to chase pennies when I got dollars. And anybody that's using these saws in a professional manner, that's counting pennies for mix oil, gas, and bar oil, your business plan is screwed up. That should be, it's a cost, but it shouldn't be making or breaking you. If you pay, you get 10 cords a gallon here, it's $3.20 to do a cord versus, $1 from the pump, and you mix your own, that shouldn't make or break you. And if it is, you got something wrong. That's just my opinion. So Yeah, that's about it. And the other thing is, these guys want to argue about this, and it's like, okay, here's my results. Here's what I've done over 5, 6, 7 years. And you have these other individuals that are doing this, but I don't see any video. I don't see any proof of a test. And that's what I go by, is empirical evidence, a test. And that's the only way that you're going to know. I mean, these pipes that I build, these rowdy pipes, I got a couple of them out there. And the guys like them. They say their saw runs really good. Okay? I'm not going to go by what somebody else says. I'm going to build one myself and try it and tweak it and modify it and make it longer or shorter or change the outlet size, single outlet, dual, until I find something that works. In other words, don't go by, what this guy in his basement is saying. What the hell does he know? I mean, you got a guy out there that for whatever reason, this is the Satan incarnate to him. For whatever reason, I don't know if he got screwed over one time using this, but he hates this oil, which is fine. But there's nothing wrong with this oil. It's recommended by the company. I mean, they are not going to spend millions of dollars developing this fuel for any other reason than for it to be better than what you can buy at the pump. It's just is. And, I am going to take my real world experience, what I've seen with my eyes and heard with my ears over a period of years, over what some guy in his basement is saying. And one of the videos he shows, he burns 1 tank of fuel and then tears the saw apart and declares victory. I mean, come on. It's a joke. You can't tell nothing with 1 tank of fuel. With this, run and run and run and run and run and run, no problems. Is it more expensive? Yes. But again, you're talking pennies. I could never understand, people are spending $1,000, $1,500 for a chainsaw, and then we're going to run the cheapest, possiblest mix oil and bar oil. I don't know.